There's a difference between someone missing you and someone missing what you did for them. And right now, the people who hurt you are experiencing that difference in the most painful way possible. They're not sitting with regret about how they treated you. They're sitting with panic about how their life feels without you. Let me be clear about something from the start, chosen one. Their tears aren't about love. Their desperation isn't about growth. Their sudden realization of your worth isn't about finally seeing you. It's about finally feeling the absence of what you provided. Think of it this way. Someone breaks their phone and realizes too late how dependent they were on it. They don't suddenly love the phone more. They're just uncomfortable without it. That's what's happening with them right now. For years, you were their emotional phone. You were always accessible, always on, always responding, always there to catch them when they fell. You were the app they opened at 3 in the morning when insomnia hit. You were the notification they checked first thing in the morning. You were the constant they never questioned because they assumed you'd always be available. And then you deleted the app. Now they're scrambling, trying to find the download link, hoping you'll reinstall, begging for one more chance to use you again. But notice something important. They're not asking how to live without you. They're asking how to get you back. That's not regret. That's withdrawal. Here's what's really happening inside them right now. Chosen one. Their body is experiencing the loss of a stimulus it became addicted to. Your presence was like a drug. It numbed their pain. It covered their insecurity. It gave them a false sense of stability. Every time they felt small, you made them feel big. Every time they felt lost, you found them. Every time they felt broken, you fixed them. And they never questioned whether they were fixing themselves. That's addiction. Not love. Addiction. So when you left, it wasn't heartbreak. It was withdrawal. And withdrawal feels exactly like desperation. Withdrawal feels like regret. Withdrawal feels like sudden realization. But it's not any of those things. It's just chemical imbalance. Their nervous system is screaming for the hit it can no longer get. Now they're doing what addicts do. They're trying everything to get the fix back. They're apologizing. They're promising change. They're showing up with flowers. They're writing long messages. They're trying to trigger your empathy. They're trying to activate your guilt. They're trying every angle to get you to plug them back in. But here's what you need to understand, chosen one. None of that effort is about becoming a better person. All of that effort is about getting access back to the comfort they lost. If they were actually changing, they wouldn't need you. If they were actually growing, they wouldn't be reaching out. If they were actually doing the work, they'd be so focused on themselves they wouldn't have time to cry about you. But they're doing the opposite. They're staring at your absence like it's the only problem they need to fix. It's not. The problem was always them. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening in their world right now. They wake up, and the first thing they notice is the space where your energy used to be. It's cold, it's empty, and their body reacts. Not emotionally, physically. Their cortisol spikes. Their nervous system goes into panic mode. Because for so long, your presence was the signal that said everything is safe now. And now that signal is gone. So they reach for their phone. They look for you. Maybe they check your social media. Maybe they scroll through old messages. Maybe they type out a text they'll never send. And with each action, they're hoping to trigger that old feeling, that old comfort, that old drug. But it doesn't come because you're not responding the way you used to. You're not available. You're not there to soothe them. And the panic gets deeper. So they do what desperate people do. They start rewriting the story. They tell themselves that maybe you were the one who was wrong. Maybe they were actually better than they remember. Maybe they just need to explain themselves better. Maybe if they say the right words, you'll come back and everything will go back to feeling normal. But normal was never normal. Normal was you sacrificing yourself so they could feel comfortable. Normal was you carrying emotional weight that wasn't yours to carry. Normal was you setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. Normal was toxic. And now they want normal back because normal is easier than growth. Normal doesn't require accountability. Normal doesn't require them to look in the mirror and face who they actually are. Normal just requires you to come back and make them feel okay again. That's the desperation you're hearing when they say things like, I miss you, or I've changed, or give us another chance. They're not saying, I see my flaws and I'm working to fix them. They're saying, I'm uncomfortable and you're the only thing that makes me comfortable. Those are two very different things. And here's where it gets cruel, chosen one. They might actually believe their own story. They might tell themselves that they've learned something. They might convince themselves that this time will be different. But that's just another lie they're telling themselves. Another comfort they're wrapping around the truth. Because if they had actually learned, they would be showing you through action, not through words. If they had actually grown, they would be working on themselves, not working on getting you back. If they had actually changed, you wouldn't feel confused about whether to believe them. Real change doesn't beg for access. Real growth doesn't perform. Real transformation doesn't need an audience. But what they're doing right now, that's performance. That's begging. That's manipulation dressed in the language of love. And the saddest part is they probably don't even realize it. They probably think they're being sincere. They probably think this time is different. But that's because they've gotten really good at lying to themselves. And if they can lie to themselves that well, imagine how easily they'll lie to you. Now let me tell you what they're actually afraid of, chosen one. It's not you. It's not losing you. It's not even missing you. They're afraid of themselves. Without you there to manage their emotions, they're facing the reality that they have no tools, no coping mechanisms, no ability to self-soothe, no internal stability. They're realizing that everything they thought was their strength was actually your strength. Everything they thought was their peace was actually your peace. Everything they thought made them whole was actually something you were providing. And that's terrifying for someone who spent years pretending to be fine. So they come back with regret as a weapon. They use tears as a tool. They weaponize their vulnerability. They make it your problem to fix. Because if they can convince you that they've suffered enough, maybe you'll come back and rebuild them again. Maybe you'll give them another chance to use you as their emotional support system. That's what the crying is really about. Not remorse, not growth, just the pain of withdrawal and the desperation to get high again. But here's what's beautiful about your position right now, chosen one. You're not that person anymore. You've had time away from them. Time to realize how much energy you were pouring into them. Time to see how little they were contributing. Time to feel what it's like to exist without carrying someone else. Time to understand that their problems were never your responsibility. And now, when they come back asking for access, you have clarity. You have distance. You have the ability to see through the performance to the person underneath. And the person underneath hasn't changed. They're just more desperate. Don't mistake desperation for transformation. Don't mistake their pain for proof of their growth. Don't mistake their tears for sincerity. They're not crying because they hurt you. They're crying because they hurt themselves by losing access to you. And that's their burden to carry, not yours. Here's what I need you to hold on to, chosen one. You are not their emotional support system. You never were, even though you acted like it. You were never responsible for their healing. You never agreed to be their lifeline. You never signed up to be the thing that kept them from facing themselves. You did those things because your heart is big and your empathy runs deep. But big hearts and deep empathy don't obligate you to set yourself on fire for people who watched you burn without trying to help. The person who's crying for access to you right now, they had access. They had it for as long as you were willing to give it. And what did they do with that access? They took. They drained. They used. They demanded more even as you were emptying yourself. And the moment you stopped, suddenly they want to act like you were the one who failed them. That's not regret. That's entitlement throwing a tantrum. Real regret would look like them doing the work alone. Real regret would look like them building their own emotional foundation instead of asking you to be theirs. Real regret would look like them respecting the boundary you set instead of trying to negotiate around it. But they're not doing any of that. They're just hoping you'll forget what happened and come back. And that's where you need to stay firm, chosen one. Not because you're cold, not because you're unforgiving, but because you love yourself more than you love the idea of being needed. That's the evolution. That's the growth. That's the real transformation that happens when you walk away from someone who never valued you. You stop needing them to need you. You stop measuring your worth by how much someone depends on you. You stop trading your peace for their comfort. And that's terrifying for people like them because suddenly their favorite drug isn't available anymore. Suddenly they can't use you to escape themselves. Suddenly they have to face the one person they've been avoiding their entire life, themselves. So let them cry. Let them regret. Let them reach out and find that the door is locked. Because your peace is more important than their comfort. Your growth is more important than their stability. Your happiness is more important than their addiction to you. And the beautiful part? The more you choose yourself, the more they realize that they can't get you back. And that's when real work might actually start for them. That's when they might actually face themselves. That's when they might actually begin to grow. But that growth won't include you. And that's exactly how it should be. You already did the work. You already showed them the way. You already gave them chances. Now it's their turn to walk alone. And you, my dear chosen one, you keep rising. You keep building. You keep becoming. Because your real life is waiting on the other side of their regret. Your real purpose doesn't include rescuing them. Your real destiny doesn't have room for people who used you as an escape route. So the next time they reach out with tears and apologies and promises of change, remember this moment. Remember how it felt to carry them. Remember how small you became while making them big. Remember how empty you got while filling them up. And then close the door. Not out of anger, out of love. Love for yourself. Love for your future. Love for the version of you that's waiting to be fully seen by someone who actually deserves it. They're crying for access, chosen one. Don't give it to them. They lost that privilege the moment they stopped valuing what they had. And you deserve so much better than someone who only appreciates you after you're gone.